All right, guys. It's Thursday. I've been running and gunning on the truck this week, getting a lot of the little piddly stuff done. Like, I haven't got the seat bolted in, but I've got it set in back into place. And now we have 3-point seat belts. The brackets, these are the original ones out of the Crown Vic. Don't ask me how I made it happen. It was a lot of fabrication. And that's all safety stuff, so I didn't figure y'all would care about that, because who cares about safety? The only reason why I'm doing it is because I plan on hauling my daughter and my wife. Otherwise, I don't care if I have seatbelts or not. But another thing is, whenever I got to the end of last week, I didn't express it to y'all, but I realized I messed up majorly. I should have figured out the fuel system a little bit more on this truck before I installed the fuel tank, because it's a little bit more of a pain to do it with the fuel tank in. So right now, I've got the sending unit out of the fuel tank. And what we're doing is a factory Crown Vic. This is the dumbest thing I think I've ever seen. I'm sure there's a lot of vehicles out there now that have it, but they're a non-return system. An LS is a return system. Here's what I found. The fuel pump goes through a computer and it sees the voltage that it needs. So then it regulates and will tell it to pump more or pump less. So I'm trying to bypass all of that and still keep all the factory wiring. So here's what I've got. The fuel pump. Here's your check valve. That's going to open and allow the return to come back into the tank. Now, the fuel pressure, I think it's 48, something like that, PSI, and an LS is 52. I could have those incorrect. I just know it's a little bit higher than what, like, not by much. It's a couple PSI higher for the LS. So we're going to delete this system out of here, and we're just going to put a chunk of rubber in there. So that'll be straight through. Now, because you have no return in here, I'm going to install this AN fitting to go through the top of here, drill a hole. We'll bolt that through there, and then I'll run a return hose back down to the bottom of the tank right here. So I'm about to unbolt this, or unclamp this, and then we can remove this section and then reinstall that. But before we go any further, there was a big bundle of wire on here, and I went through and looked to see what I needed. And you have 4 wires coming into it on the back side. Now, if I trace it, this one is a ground, and it comes up. They've got this thing all boogered up, but it comes around, loops, 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 comes into here. Now, if I'm tracing that correctly, that's the red wire on this side, because the output on that is actually a different shape than the input on this side, but that's ground. So red, solid red is ground. Okay. Then we have the power for the sending unit. So that one is right here. So this wire comes up, loops around, and comes in right here. So that one's yellow. Then we have our power and ground to the fuel pump, and they come up and come in up here. So ground goes through and continues to be black on the other side, and white and black right here come out and be black and red on this side. These are a little bit thicker than these, so they do really indicate the fact that they're power and ground. So what I'm guessing is ground and ground. These two need to be grounded to the body or the frame of the truck, and then this will be the sending unit and the fuel pump power. So now what I need to do is take this over there to the truck and touch these two to the battery real quick, just to make sure fuel pump kicks on. So I'm going to do that real fast. All right, this thing's going to make a mess. I'm either going to get shot this way or shot the other way, so I need to hook ground. Touch ground in here somewhere, get it wedged in. All right, so that's touching. Oh yeah, y'all can, I hope y'all can hear that, but that fuel pump's running and it sounds healthy. All right, so we've got fuel pump. I don't really have a good way to test the sending unit, so I'm just gonna go with my theory, the fact that those are what I need them to be, and we'll keep rolling. All right, so there we go. We've got the return added. 1 inch off the bottom is what I measured on the old one. And the check valve has been removed, and it's got a solid piece of rubber. So our new regulator is built into the Corvette pump that's already on the truck. So now I need to get this bolted back in. And before I do that, I need to put labels on these wires real fast and then slide this back into the tank. And then I can run a return from my filter, which is right underneath the floor right here, and up to there. All right, so there we go. We got our AN fuel line all run up to the front of the truck. We've got our transcooler lines, like I was telling y'all, those are all installed, made out of AN line. And then we've got our return going back to our fuel tank. And the fuel tank is all hooked up. Now we've got to do wiring. I still got some more wiring stuff all to do underneath the truck here. I got to do all of this. This is all the back half of the truck stuff. So next step, we're not going to jump on the wiring right this moment. We have another next step we actually need to work on. And that is getting in here and pulling our wiper motor and replacing it with our brand new wiper motor. So I need to work on that. Also, I'm sure y'all just noticed, there's that steering wheel I was telling y'all about. It's not bolted down, it's just sitting on, but there it is, chopped down. You can see it in the truck, and man, I love it. It's comfortable, smaller. Here's the original hoop, just to show you how much we actually ended up cutting off this thing. There's how much. We're down to a 14-inch steering wheel. So next thing, I'm gonna start working on that wiper motor, getting that replaced, because once that's replaced, then I can start working on the gauge cluster stuff and all the wiring right there in that area. Once all that's done, or either vice versa, I can jump underneath or do that, one of the two. But all that stuff, and we're getting really close to firing this thing up. All right, so I've been plugging away at all this wiring all day today, and I'm not quite done. Got a couple more things to wrap up, but we're finally to the point where I've got the fuel pump connected. I've got most of the gauge wiring stuff all set up. I just threw a couple of gallons in the tank. So let's see here. Let's turn the ignition on. Just put the key in. Double check for leaks. No up there. No. Let's go to the front. No leaks up here. Everything is dry. Engine purge for fuel. Make sure we are getting fuel up here to the top. And I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing any fuel. We've got no fuel to the top of the engine. All right, so I might have had this all hooked up incorrectly. It might have been, we know the fuel pump's good. You can hear it running right now. I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera, but it's a heck of a lot quieter than it was earlier. All right. Not seeing any fuel leaks. I've got everything all tested. Let me try firing it up, see how this goes. That's it. It's running. That is a huge weight off my shoulders. Now I do know we're gonna have to put some fuel or some transmission fluid in here, but check it. Yeah, it definitely needs fluid because it just went forward then backward, and that was in reverse. That's drive. Alright. So it has been an absolute insane morning over here working on the truck. We've got all of the gauge cluster, steering wheel, everything all buttoned up. Nobody wants to watch wiring, like I said yesterday, but here we go. Turns right on. Got oil pressure. Our gauge right here will turn on in a second. Everything else works great. Right now what I'm working on is hooking up our fan, which I'm only gonna have it run into the battery just permanently on because I've got to get an adapter for the sending unit so it'll kick on. But I'm working on getting that done right now. So that way we can use this truck today because well, I guess it's day of, so I can go ahead and let y'all know I'm having a baby. Me and my wife and daughter are bringing another child into the world, and reason why we're trying to get this truck done today and at least running and driving enough that it's able to do a burnout is because we're going to do that for the bags. So we're going to do a gender reveal with the truck, and that's why I've been hounding away at this truck to get it done, is because I wanted to use it for that purpose. So trying to get everything wrapped up on it. That's why I haven't really been filming. It's been more of, dude, just roll. You got to get it running. So yes, there's going to be a little bit more touch-up stuff, like in like 2 weeks worth of just little piddly stuff, and then this truck will be done. But I've got to finish up, like I said, this wiring for the fan, run it over to the deal. We've got our relay in here and relay diagram all set up. The sending unit is going to end up going right back there in the back of the head, but like I said, I got to get an adapter for that. So once I get that in, I can finish that up. So what I'm going to do right now is finish up this wiring. I'm also going to top the transmission off because the transmission does need to be topped off as well. Then I can set the truck on the ground and we can go for a test drive. For the first time ever, it has not been off jack stands. Go for a test drive. Well, I took it on a trip to the gas station as a little maiden voyage, and I saw a friend of mine there. Luckily, it was on my way to the party, and anyways, he's giving me a ride back to the truck because I had to go back to the shop and get some stuff. So now we're gonna try jumping it off because it's acting like it's dead, and we'll go from there. Well, it's saving on fuel right now. Getting towed behind my buddy's truck. So we'll see what happens with the rest of this. I know it has a dead battery, so that's number one on the list, and then we'll see what happens after that. So that's it. We're having a girl. The truck did great. Still has a lot of little touch-ups. Like I said, this was literally slammed together. Had it running at 11:30 the night before. Still had to finish up a lot of stuff so that way I could bring it down off jack stands, which I finally got it ready by 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock I took it off jack stands and drove it to the convenience store down the road from our shop, and literally broke down at the convenience store. It's a dead battery. It's not a big deal. Luckily, because I was having a get together at the shop, one of my buddies actually saw me at the convenience store, and he was able to give me a hand running back over here, grabbing everything we needed, going back over there. Trying it, didn't work, so that way we just grabbed it with a strap, pulled it back over here to the shop, and we're good to go. So it's still got a couple weeks worth of work to touch up everything, finalize it, because I want to drive this truck to Denton for pistons and paint. But for a $75 eBay harness and a $100 tune and just a bone stock 5.3, she's still got some little issues to work out with the... I've got some kind of an oil leak over here on this side. I've got to locate. Had to tighten up the lower radiator hose. But besides that, leaks. I mean, that was the only two. Then, I mean, check this out. I mean, that's a $100, $75 harness, $100 tune. And check this out. Twist the key. As in real time. And I love the fact that this truck is very quiet. Still got a rumble. But it's not obnoxious. But once you whip the throttle, it does have a sound to it. And like I said, that's literally just a bone stock 5.3. We still got to build the cover for in here, the bed liner in here, put the toolbox up the front, get the tailgate on, get the back end of this all wired with the taillights and everything. Got to get turn signal bulbs. I do have a radio. I do have a radio for it, and speakers and all that stuff to go in here. Seat's not bolted down because we do have a sub on its way as well. And I've got to take all these windows out, put all new felt and everything in them. Then I can put these back in for good. And that's why the door panels aren't on as well. But it's honestly just a lot of little piddly stuff. So it's stuff that we're going to try and attack as much as we can over the course of this week and the following week. And I'll bring y'all along with me, show you all that. I mean, everybody knows the last 10% of a build takes 90% of the time. So we're going to attack that last little 10% and get this truck finalized. Because, like I said, I want to drive it to Denton for pistons and paint. I've missed every other deadline that I've shot for this truck, other than the gender reveal, which was a big one. And that's why I said last week, I said, well, it's got to perform, because we can't really change the date on this one, and it's very important to us. So it ran, it did its job. I appreciate everybody that came out. The few people that have given me a hand working on the truck, thank you. But that's it.